gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Dark and Stormy Nights. This is Loki.
And this is Tyr.
And Tyr has brought you a lovely tale today. I'm not sure I remember what about, though.
Honestly, it's a relatively short chapter. It's we had planned on the bodak
Is
stock.
that picking up your mouse?
What?
Every time you touched your mouse pad.
It was buzzing.
Yeah, that's funny.
It might be.
Jeez,
Sorry.
This shit's so sensitive.
It was the bodak is trying to feed and following the,
Yeah.
the beacon of magic,
That's
aka
right.
the dragon.
Okay.
And then a little bit of flashing over to the rebellion.
Right. Okay. Are you ready to jump into it?
If you would like me to.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. All right. The red haze of hunger and injury had driven the desperate creature to the recklessness of wandering the street before the sun had even set. The busy city was far from his normal hunting grounds, but the bloodlust wouldn't let him ignore the immense power shining like a beacon, calling to him like an oasis in the desert. The hunger gnawed at him, feeding the pain of his injuries and blinding him to the dangers that awaited just outside the shadowed alleys and corners he lurked in. The flare of magic bounced down the sidewalk, wearing the illusion of a child. Blonde hair bounced around her as she chatted excitedly, pointing out her destination. The creature used some of its rapidly depleting magic to step through the veil and re-enter further down the street. The hunger raged, gnawing at him as he stepped back through and positioned himself at the edge of the building, tucked just out of view and waiting for her to walk past. The trick had cost him, but he salivated at the quickly approaching payoff. Magic hummed in the air, rolling off of his meal and enticing him closer. His freakishly long tongue swiped out, lashing in the air as if he could get a taste. He was nearly out of his mind enough to give in to the chase, but anything with that much magic wouldn't be easy prey. Catching it off guard was his only chance, and it was fast approaching. The magic grew stronger, and he ached for his chance. He could think of nothing else but sinking his teeth into the tender flesh of whatever was hidden under the powerful illusion the child wore. Saliva flooded his mouth, and he readied himself for the attack. "Elliot, look!" The bodak pounced a moment too late, his clawed hand swiping nothing but air as the child dashed across the street to talk to someone feeding pigeons in a park. "Shayla, don't run into the street like that. You nearly gave me a heart attack," the human companion scolded. "But Elliot, look at these. They're just birds. They're pretty much everywhere." "What do they taste like?" she asked, plucking one up from the ground and holding it in front of her face. "Haha, she's kidding," he announced to the area in general. "We're going to get pizza, like any normal child would eat." That last bit was uttered with a hint of warning. She dropped the bird and backed away. "Fine. We could have gotten pizza at home where I could kick your ass at Mario Kart. I promise to show you around. Plus, where we're going, you can kick my ass at all the other games." The child bounced ahead, eager to get to their destination, but too far away to grab without gathering attention. An eerie growl echoed between the buildings as the bodak receded deeper into the shadows. Opportunity lost for the moment. "The Combine has taken their stance. It couldn't be more clear." Annalise swept her arms out over the destruction the hired guns had caused. "The Combine has yet to make an official statement, Torlund," an elder troll pointed out. "How can you trust anything they have to say when they send assassins into our midst?" once one of the witches asked. "We sent them our message. We need to give them a chance to accept our terms. We've seen what they think of us. How seriously will they take our message?" "They haven't had time to respond since we sent the recording. What was the point if we're waging war regardless?" someone in the crowd asked. "Most of you are too young to know war, to know real war," a gargoyle murmured into his ale. "You don't know what you're rushing into." "We don't have the luxury of sitting on our perch and watching the world change before us," Annalise cut in. "You've seen for yourself what happens when we try to work with the Combine. You've seen their treachery, their betrayal, their thirst for absolute power. We fight, or we face oppression and extermination at their hands again and again. No one gave them their authority. They took it by force, and they weren't worried about war when they wiped us out to do it. Then we make representation a condition of our compliance. Make them choose. Either we get a fair seat at the table or we go to war, a griffin spoke up. Annalise moved to stand in front of the group. We don't have time to wait for them to choose. How many teams of mercenaries are we going to wait through? It's us or it's them. You're fooling yourself if you think there's any other choice here. Enough, one of the elder witches moved to stand next to Annalise, and she wisely allowed the woman to speak. Representation and a fair voice starts here. We give everyone fair time to state their position, and then we take a vote. Annalise gritted her teeth at the loss of control in the aftermath, but she didn't dare speak out. Emotions were high, but not where she needed them. Not yet, but it wouldn't be long before she got the opening she needed. She made note of her allies and those that opposed her, and as much as it grated that they didn't accept her leadership, they didn't accept her guidance for the gift that it was. The information she gathered during their arguments would be invaluable when the time came. Okay, I can either pause there or just keep going pretty much through the whole thing.
You can go through the whole thing. I
Okay.
forgot there was a microphone and I just started talking about it.
Okay. I win again, suckers, Shayla shouted, fists held high over her head in triumph. Lee groaned and dropped his head back, tossing his last skee ball without looking. I'm getting a beer. Again, Shayla insisted, as she stole more coins out of Elliot's cup. It had taken him about 320s worth of coins before he realized she was pocketing the ones he gave her instead and using his tokens instead. He just couldn't figure out where she was hiding them. How many times will you have to kick my ass at skee ball before we wear out the excitement? He asked the little dragon. At least 100. Why? Are you getting tired of losing? Psh, like anyone would ever get sick of that. So much fun. Just wondering what I'm in for. I mean, how much fun I should be prepared for. Wouldn't you rather play one of these other games? Look, a racing game. You love those. Shayla eyed the driving game skeptically. I guess I could beat you at something else for a while. That's what friends do. So generous of you, Elliot mumbled as he slid into the driver's seat. Shayla grabbed coins out of his cup and pumped them into the machine. You're going down, she growled as she placed both hands on the wheel and scooted to the edge of the seat so she could reach the pedals. Elliot swallowed nervously as the countdown appeared on their screens. The cars took off and he floored the pedal, racing through several laps of track while getting looks for the less than ladylike smack talk coming out of his racing partner. By the time they were done, half the place was watching them with less than friendly stares. Elliot cleared his throat and dragged Shayla over to the table that Lee had taken over. What do you say we go grab some ice cream? Lee glanced around at the angry stares and raised an eyebrow in Elliot's direction, but then downed his beer in one impressive gulp. What the hell, let's go. Can I have the rest of your coins? Shayla asked as they moved towards the door. He handed them over, and somewhere between the table and the door they disappeared. They spilled out into the sidewalk and wandered toward the nearest ice cream shop. Want to tell me what happened? Lee asked. It's a little hard to excuse her swearing to a group of humans when I can't tell them she's older than me, Elliot explained. Shayla rolled her eyes. Humans are so dumb. You guys get all worked up over words but ignore the truly awful things that happen all around you. It makes no sense. Elliot opened his mouth to explain before realizing there wasn't really an explanation he could offer. You're right. Sometimes we make no sense. Hey, Lee, a blonde woman a little older than Elliot called as they passed. Lee stopped in his tracks and turned back the way that they were coming from. Stephanie, long time. He turned back to Elliot and waved him off. I'll catch up in a minute, kid. Stephanie's an old acquaintance. Elliot shook his head but kept moving, keeping up with the little dragon bouncing towards her next treat. How something so tiny could put away so much junk food, he had no idea. But she really was a bottomless pit. They walked while she chatted excitedly about all the flavors of ice cream she wanted, until coming to a stop at a crosswalk. When the signal didn't immediately change, he turned to check for a button to trigger the light. He hadn't even made it as far as the corner when he heard Shayla's shriek behind him. Instantly on alert, Elliot spun in time to see a creature in a tattered robe dragging her back into the shadows before blinking out of existence. His blood ran cold. No, Shayla. He ran into the alley where she'd been seconds before. But there was nothing. He ran deeper into the stretching shadows, but the entire area between the buildings was empty. No, oh my God. He ran back out into the street, colliding with a solid body that sent him sprawling to the pavement. Jesus, kid, what the hell are you doing? Lee, she's gone. We have to find her now. She was there just a second ago, and then, oh my god, it got her, Lee. What the hell are we gonna do? Elliot's rambling was bordered on hysterical. Elliot's eyes shot to the space between the building before scanning the area. Elliot, please tell me you did not lose the dragon. Elliot swallowed hard. Lee, I lost the dragon. Shayla's shriek could be heard through the cavernous room as the nightmare creature pulled her back through the veil. Its magic was choppy and rough against her skin, and she shuddered at the experience. Immediately punching into her head, the monster began spilling images, trying to wrap her up in its illusions. But its tricks didn't last for long. She squeezed her eyes shut as panic spiked and the creature's magic went dead. Resorting to instinct, Shayla let her true form take over, forgetting in her haste that a full-size dragon wasn't going to fit in the creature's hideout. Her back hit the top of the building, and she became stuck in the pieces that hadn't given up the fight to contain her. Arching her neck, Shayla opened her jaw and breathed deep, releasing blue flames and blowing the rest of the building to ash. Once free, she took to the air, quickly realizing she wasn't where she thought she was. To get back to Elliot, she would need to find her way back to the surface, to the real surface, not this underground illusion. But she was a dragon, and finding an opening to escape through was nothing she couldn't handle. It's literally every time I scroll that the buzz starts again. Annalise's eyes lit up at the blue explosion in the distance. You see, she shouted, jumping from her seat. She'd already given her speech and was now speaking out of turn, but she needed to seize the opportunity. The Combine was almost making it too easy for her. Another attack. How long are we going to let this go on? How many times are we going to let them try to take us by force? We demanded equal treatment, and they responded with violence. What more proof do you need? She could see in the eyes of the others that her point was starting to hit home. They weren't eager to go to war, but they were prepared to protect themselves should war be thrust upon them. We tried to reason with them. We went to them with facts and refused to bow to their oppression, but we did not start this war. The sorcerers started it centuries ago when they killed without reason, without provocation. And they have chosen war again with these attacks in our territory. Will you stand silently by until it's your home that's destroyed? We must stand together if we are to defeat them. The Combine has given you your answer. It's up to us to decide if we will let them continue to rule by absolute authority, committing vile acts against us at will, or if we will fight the injustices they have carried out using their stolen power. No one who takes power by force, by extermination, does so with the intent to hand it over. This will not end until we end it. Will you stand up for what is right now, or will you leave this fight to your children like cowards? Rumbles ran over the room, and an elder witch stood as well. All in favor of waiting for an official response from the Combine? A few of the group raised their hands, and Annalise took note of the dissenting. All in favor of fighting to take back our power from the Combine. The majority of the group raised their hands this time, though she noted that still many hadn't voted at all. Then it is settled, the elder witch said. We plan for war. You're sure it was the bodak? I mean, I only saw it for a second, but I'm pretty freaking sure, Lee. It looked the same. It was a cloaky thing, and it was creepy. Ren is our best bet. She can get in touch with Penny. I'll tell her to meet us back at the penthouse. Oh God, Lee, what if she's hurt? What if she's scared? I was supposed to protect her, and I didn't even see it coming. She must be terrified. We'll find her, kid. We've been looking for the bodak already. We just need to speed up the search. A lot. Elliot fisted both of his hands in his hair, making it stick up in a ridiculous way. That's worse. We've been looking for this thing and have come up with nothing. We don't have time to scour every text known to man. To be fair, most of the texts I have aren't known to man. Elliot shot Lee a look and shrugged. Just saying. Not helping Lee, he gritted out through his teeth. We'll find her, kid. How can you possibly promise that? They literally vanished into thin air. Just disappeared. How am I supposed to find where they went when there's no trail to track down? No clues left behind. Just there 1 second and gone the next. You can start by keeping a level head. We're not going to find her with you panicking. Oh, okay then. I'll just stop panicking because you said so. Because that's how panicking works. Lee sighed. You use sarcasm as a coping method, and it's not helpful. Oh, really? Is that what you think? Would you like to analyze my childhood next? Jesus, Elliot, get it together. I lost an entire person. I think I'm entitled to lose my shit a little. A little? Is that what we're calling this? Elliot started to respond, but stopped short at the sight of the little girl sitting on the steps to the building. Oh my God, Shayla, you scared the hell out of me. Are you all right? She jumped up and threw her arms around Elliot. Her little body trembled slightly, but when he pulled back to look at her, her face was dry, and she looked considerably calm. They ushered her up to the apartment, and Elliot immediately sat her down and heated up hot chocolate for her. Once she was settled, she explained what happened and how she got away. Elliot blinked at the little girl as she explained details that he would have been himself in too panic to get. It was hard to remember how old she was when she looked so young. Lee rubbed a hand over his face. So the place this thing was hiding out in, would you be able to find it again? Yes, of course. Dragons have an excellent sense of direction. Lee gave Elliot a look. Shayla was giving them what they needed, assuming the creature hadn't taken off when she'd escaped. I think we need to take a trip tomorrow. Shayla sighed, but settled back with her mug. Fine, but you still owe me ice cream. All right, that's what I have.
That's it?
Yep.
That was good. I got confused for a second when the two worlds overlapped.
Okay.
But I picked it up. You know, like I kind of figured.
You mean the cut from one to the other?
Well, when she broke free, and the underground felt it. You know, when the Fae underground felt it. I didn't pick up at first, and I was like, we talked about this.
Yeah, it's easier to read because you see the separator in there, you know? So, good
stuff.
Thanks. I mean,
it was funny. It was probably one of your funnier chapters for this one.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
It was just, it didn't come out very long, and I felt like filling it in too much would take away from the story. I don't know. Like, I didn't want to get too rambly.
Yeah. The only thing you could have probably done was maybe add one more near miss for the bodak, but it wasn't necessary. It turned out to be, it was a good chapter.
Yeah.
It would have made it longer, but maybe a little tedious had you added one more. You know.
So, I mean, we could add it in if you think it...
I don't think it needs it, no. I think it flowed well. You're going to have short chapters. Like, I mean, some of the greats have had one-page chapters, you know.
Yeah.
Our last season, most of our chapters weren't very long, you know.
I mean, it's only shorter by like a page and a half.
Oh, wow. It went by quick.
Yeah, I did feel like it read really fast. But like, yeah, writing-wise, it's not that much shorter, but I knew that it was going to feel much shorter.
Yeah.
It felt shorter writing it.
So, okay. So in the next episode, we're going to have to decide where this all goes.
Yeah, I feel like we're a little bit... I don't know. I have to go back to our notes. Well, no, it's not that. I feel like we're going to have to start considering the end as a whole.
Right.
You know, and start taking the overarching plot into consideration as we plot the last few chapters.
Yeah, I think we're at that point where things start unraveling.
Yeah.
Everybody should know what's up.
Right. And so now we've snuck in some answers about Annalise.
Right.
You know, and we have snuck in some answers about the Combine. And we have snuck in some answers about the bodak. So really the bodak is toast if we choose to go that route, you know?
Yeah, I feel like maybe they find him dead or something like that, or dying, you know. And, you know, it depends on if we want to get some info out of him.
Because here's the thing, is that Lee and Elliot are going to want... Lee and Elliot are going to want information out of the bodak, right?
Right.
But don't you feel like at least Annalise, potentially all of the Fae Rebellion, or Witch Rebellion or whatever it is, goes to check out the scenario? Don't you feel like Annalise would kill the bodak before anybody had a chance to...
Yeah, no,
find
definitely
out that
she'd
they work
get rid of
together.
the evidence.
Like, even if she showed up there with a bunch of angry whatever people.
Well, especially seeing how some of those Fae are going to be like psychic and stuff like that.
Right. I feel like she would see the creature alive and like just kill it instantly and be like, oh, there you go, I
Yeah.
killed it. You're welcome.
Run into the room and slay
Right.
it. It's like,
So, like, then when Lee and Elliot show up and find the creature dead, it's one more clue
Right.
that something else.
see, the Combine sent a bodak for us. You know, or I don't know.
I don't know, maybe. But, like, either way, like, she runs in and kills it before anybody can get any answers. So, one, that's really not the best plan of action on the Fae side.
Right.
And B, when Elliot and Lee show up to find this thing, they can tell somebody has already killed it.
Right.
And that might be a little bit suspicious.
Yeah.
We're going to have to start making Nigel. We're going to have to make amends between Nigel and Lee. You know?
Right.
And we're going to have to maybe have those two working together to try to start to figure out the Raynest thing.
Right.
You know? So there's a lot of directions we have to go. And this was, I believe, chapter 15. So we're about halfway point, maybe a little bit more.
I feel like we're further than that.
Yeah.
But, you know, we'll,
I agree. We're
figure
probably
out
going to end up
where
with
it
less than 30 chapters in this one.
yeah, it happens.
That's fine. And yeah, but I think it's time to start maybe planning out a little more wholly, like big picture planning,
Right.
where we're going.
So, you know how many words we have yet?
So the problem is that I have all of our notes within the document.
So
it's like,
it's hard to tell.
yeah, it's hard to tell because of all the,
We'll have to build one that doesn't have all the notes in it.
yeah, we're at like 56,000 right now.
Okay. Not too shabby.
Nope.
So, okay. Well, why don't you guys come and join us next week when we plan out the next chapter and help us figure this out. So, in the meantime, you can talk about the show at r/Dark and Stormy Nights, or you can follow us on Twitter at the Dark Stormy K1, or we have a group on Facebook, and you can find the podcast anywhere where podcasts are found, including YouTube. So we'll see you next week.
Bye.